Well, good morning. Welcome to Agape, your home for how to better self-love through conscious living. That's right, that's all we teach. We teach how to better self-love. And we define love as the awareness and acceptance of our wholeness. Isn't that about the spiritual journey? To discover your wholeness, not the illusion that you're a mind, that you're a body, that you're emotions. That's not who you are. You're the divine, individualized. And that's a key thing here. You are individualized. You're not supposed to be like anybody else. At Agape, we teach principles on how to master your mind. We teach the science of mind as written by Ernest Holmes. We also teach some Zen Buddhism, some Hinduism. We teach a lot of different things, but they're practical. They're practical about you discovering the greatness of you that exists within you. And in doing so, you become empowered to live a fulfilling life. I don't believe that you can be happy all the time, but I do believe you can feel a sense of fulfillment. And I think that's the true sign that when you're on your deathbed about to make your transition, if you have that sense of fulfillment that you lived your life to the best that you could in a path that you chose, it's going to be a peaceful transition to whatever comes next. So with that, let's take a moment and let's get quiet. Let's bring ourselves and center ourselves right to this now. So I invite you to come to a comfortable seated upright position, whatever that is for you. And gently close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, take a long, slow, deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a little. And now gently exhale through your mouth, releasing any stress, any tension. Again, long, slow, deep breath in through the nose. Hold it for a moment. Now as you release, feel your body begin to relax. And one more breath as you breathe in love, joy, peace. Hold that. And as you exhale, let go of any stress, any tension, and fall deeper and deeper into relaxation. I want you to imagine, sense, and feel in this deeply, deeply relaxed state your connection to that which is infinite. I want you to imagine asking that infinite part of you questions. And I want you to hear it answering you. And realize that you and it are not separate, but you and it are one. You're actually asking yourself a question, and you are answering yourself. You're not coming from ego. You're coming from source, infinite wisdom. It's not like you're trying to argue, because if you know something, you would never argue because you know it. And so just take a moment and pick something that's on your mind, something you desire to have an answer to, and ask that part of you, that higher self, that intuitive part of you, that soul aspect of you, pure spirit. Ask it the question and listen for the answer while I am quiet. Know that your answer could have come as a symbol, a visual. It could have come at words. And the wisdom is always there for you to guide and direct you because only you know what's right for you. So take a moment and thank your inner wisdom for listening, and realize it's always listening. Your inner wisdom is always listening, and it's giving you what you think about most. So with this awareness, this consciousness, and with any insight you may have gotten, start to bring yourself back to this time, to this place, to this day. Begin to move your fingers, your toes, stretch a little bit. And when you're ready, open your eyes and welcome back to life. So today I want to talk about who influences you. The hidden impact about what you hear. That's right. What you hear has a bigger impact on you than anything you can imagine. So, who are you listening to? And why it matters? Because who you're listening to provides you with information that shapes your mental atmosphere. It shapes your focus. And whatever shapes your focus shapes your experience of life. So let's delve into that and talk about who are you listening to? What are the voices you hear? The first voices you hear are your mom and dad. Here I am, 73 years old. My father's been dead, about 7 years. My mother's been dead for, about 15 years. And yet, I still hear their voice in my head. I'm still listening to things. What did my father say? The reward for good work is more work. Money doesn't grow on trees. Those are things I've had to change because they didn't serve me. My parents had a very limited view of abundance. They had a very limited view about being loving because they just didn't know any better. So because I'm aware of that, I know what their voices sound like and I know what they're saying. And so I identify that. Now, some of the things they taught me are wonderful. Some are limiting. The voices you hear, your family, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents. I know for a fact, as a grandfather, as a Baba, my granddaughter Claire hears a specific voice from me. She hears a specific voice from her Nona. I know that. And I know that those voices impact her. So I'm very conscious of what I say to her. I'm very conscious of what my grandparents said or didn't say to me. They had an impact on me. Next, it's your friends. Think about how your friends have spoken to you so many times, and you want them to be friends. You value your friendship so much that you may push your voice aside so that they will like you. Not only will they like you, but the same thing with your family, the same thing with your mom and dad. Did you suppress your voice in order to be accepted and to be a pleaser? After that comes church. I was born and raised a Catholic. And so by God, I had the voices of Jesus, the voices of the Catholic Church in my head. And then I turned 15, went to the seminary, had a calling, according to my mom and dad, a vocation to be a priest. However, the Catholic Church didn't see it that way because this young man at 15, 16 questioned and asked questions. I didn't buy their voice. But I still have that voice inside me. How does that voice demonstrate? One of the things I was taught, if you're not good, you're going to feel guilty. So whenever guilt comes up, I have to realize, oh, that's my Catholic voice coming up. Then you've got the voice of what? Very much today, politicians. Are you on this side or on that side? You've got to support one or the other. And so you hear those voices and they form a mental atmosphere within you. Going beyond the politicians, now what do you've got? You've got the news media bombarding you. Then, more than anything, when I was growing up, now you've got social media. It's hitting you every which way but loose. You're being bombarded by your mom and dad, your family, your friends, your church, the politicians, the news media, social media. And then you've got authority figures. Could be lawyers, doctors, bosses, whatever. And you're being given by society how you should value them. Never, ever, ever question a doctor. I question doctors all the time. They're not experts. They don't know what works for everyone. They understand that there are formulas they can use and their statistics. But one of the things I've come to understand is I am not a statistic. The last one, not the last one, but another one is your mind. And your mind is consciously just throwing out thoughts. And it's throwing out thoughts based on all of the experiences you've had up to this point. It's throwing out thoughts based on all of these other influences. And your mind is going crazy. But you're listening to it. The last that you listen to is your higher self. That part of you that is within you. The part of you that has a body, has a mind, has emotions, but is not attached to them. Pure spirit, the seat of self. Consciousness, individualized as you. Think about that. When people say, do you hear voices? Oh my God, I've only named like 9, and there's so many more we could delve into, but I named the main ones. So you got a lot of things going on in your head, a lot of things influencing you. And because we hear so many voices, it's critical that we embrace our ability to discern. This is our ability to recognize what really aligns with our truth and what doesn't. Who determines your truth? You do. No matter what voice you hear, you should be asking questions. And I've given you right now some of the best questions I think you could ask. The first is, something comes up. Does this support my highest values? The things that I value most in life. I did a values workshop last week with beautiful people, and they were able to gain insight into what was most important to them. And some of them realized that what they really wanted was not even a high value. And so if it wasn't really a high value, but they really wanted it, they weren't asking the right questions. So first you determine your values, and then you ask the question, whatever you're hearing, does it support my highest values? Is it that? If it doesn't, don't listen. Then you ask, does this support the life I want to create and experience? If you want to have a life of harmony with your partner and your family, then don't argue with them. Don't criticize them. Don't have to be right all the time. This is one of the things that the ego does. The ego, it's behind all these things talking to you. That could probably be the number one thing that's influencing you is your ego. It just came to me right now. Your ego always wants to be right. So if you are in a situation and you're desiring to be right, you want to prove right, you want to argue, you want to debate, that's your ego. Because your inner being knows what's true and it feels no need whatsoever to argue. The next question you should ask yourself is, does this feel like fear or does this feel like love? If the voice is bringing about fear, man, had the experience of going to a doctor recently, and that doctor just raised fear and said, this is what we got to do. Raised fear. This is what we got to do. Raised fear. This is what we got to do. But never once asked, investigated, what could be the cause? All they wanted to do was jump to a solution. How do you jump to a solution when you don't know the cause? Because you may cut something, you may take a pill or something, but you've not gotten rid of the cause. Do you see what I'm thinking? Do you see how that just doesn't work? Love is the ability to look at everything, to accept everything as it is, understand why it is the way it is, and then move forward. And one of the last questions for this is, do I really believe this is my highest calling? I know that my highest callings are, number one, to become more aware. Number two, to teach. Number three, to support my loved ones. Deep interpersonal connections, supporting my family, and allowing them to support me. Notice that I said support me. I think this is one of the greatest things that we're facing in society. We're either taking all the time or we're giving all the time. And there has to be balance. In order to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy set of emotions, there has to be balance in your life. And you know who can choose to be balanced? Only you. No one else can choose that for you. So knowing this, how do I put this into practice? First, you have to take an honest look at the voices you're allowing into your life. Who do you spend time with? What do you watch, read, listen to? How do these voices make you feel? If something is constantly draining your energy or pulling you away from your truth, maybe it's time to set boundaries. Are you on TikTok? Are you on YouTube? Are you on Twitter? Are you on news feeds? And I mean, you're watching them and you come out of there and you're depressed, you're that. Maybe you ought to limit your time on there. Maybe you're with someone who's always complaining. Why do you keep listening? Why do you give that a lot of your time? Your ability to control where you focus the time has a tremendous impact on how you hear and what you hear. Second, cultivate stillness. Make and take time to listen inward. This doesn't have to be complicated. Even 5 minutes of sitting quietly with yourself can make a difference. The more you practice tuning in, the more you'll recognize that voice of your higher self. I love taking 3 deep breaths. Connecting, knowing that I'm one with something so much greater than I can imagine. And then I ask the question, and I just sit and listen. I may not get a complete answer, but I'll get another thought or I'll get my next action. That's what happens when you live in stillness, because in stillness, you're quieting all these other influencing voices so that you can listen to your intuitive nature, your divine nature. The third way you can put it into practice is surround yourself with voices of inspiration. Seek out people, books, podcasts, communities that uplift and challenge you to grow, to become more. Fill your mind and heart with ideas that expand your vision of what is possible. You don't want someone that listens to your problems and says, you poor you. You want someone who listens to your problem and says, so what are you going to do now to grow? What is the lesson here? How can you move forward? What can you do to be a greater expression of love? You want people in your life. If you're listening to this podcast, you've got one of those right here, because that's all we do is ask questions. And the Agape, we're a community that supports that. We're here to challenge you, to uplift you, and support you. And you want people like that. Your primary partner in life, whoever that is, you want them to do that. the challenge to uplift and support you, and share the journey as you do it for one another. Finally, learn to trust yourself. You have an inner wisdom that knows what's best for you. The more you listen to that wisdom, the stronger it becomes. Trust that you are capable of discerning what aligns with your truth and doesn't matter. Stop seeking the approval of others. Gather all the information you need on a subject, and you make the choice that is right for you. I know my wife and I support each other in that tremendously. She deals with this back issue that she's working on. She's gotten all of this input. And I just look at her and say, here are my opinions. However, whatever you decide, I will 100% support, because it's your body, it's your mind, it's your life. For me, that's the greatest expression of love. I'm not judging, I'm supporting, and I'm accepting. Here's the next question. Can you do that for yourself? Can you stop listening to all this BS out there and judging yourself against what doesn't matter? Because in the end, the only thing that matters is that sense of well-being that you feel within you. Remember, the voices you listen to are shaping your mind, and what your mind speaks, you create. It's as we say at Agape all the time, everything begins and ends with you, and everything starts with self-love. Make it a great week. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you'd like to plug into Agape, go to agapespiritualcenter.com. Click on the newsletter link and you'll get a weekly newsletter, and you'll get my daily thought. All of them are uplifting. All of them are uplifting. Also, you can find out how you can plug in with meditations, with classes, with workshops, with gatherings. Also, I'm going to be very candid. If you receive something from these messages, if you're a regular watcher, make a donation. Go to agapespiritualcenter.com, click on the giving tab. And hey, why not become an automated giver? We offer benefits. If you give $100 a month, you get a class for every class I teach for half off. If you automate $200 a month, you get all the classes I teach for free. What you're doing by giving to Agape is you're supporting us giving this message and bringing it to the world so that we can help work together to make this world a better place. Know I'm grateful for you, because you are watching and you are giving. I'm able to give my gift to the world. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Go make it a great week.